Today, I'm going to talk about the top ways to get student loan forgiveness at Nelnet. So if you have Nelnet student loans, you probably have federal student loans that are serviced by Nelnet, and then maybe there's a chance that you have other kinds of student loans that are also serviced by Nelnet. But, know this, Nelnet may or may not always be your servicer. There's different things that'll happen that'll cause your loans to leave that servicer. But I want to show you just what type of programs that you might be able to use so that you get forgiveness and get Nelnet out of your life as soon as possible. So let's get started. So the first kind of forgiveness that you can get at Nelnet is this pay, save, IBR type forgiveness. So this one right here. So this is the easiest type of forgiveness to get, in my opinion, just because you don't have to do anything special or nothing bad has to happen. It's just you sign up for one of the income-driven repayment plans that exist out there. And then if you have above a certain amount of income, then it takes 20 to 25 years to get forgiveness in the private sector, right? So for example, a lot of people have this misnomer that you can't get your student loans forgiven if you work in the private sector. That's actually not true. A lot of people can get student loans forgiven in the private sector. You can even get your student loans forgiven if you don't even work at all. The only caveat is you've got to be paying on an income-driven repayment plan for 20 to 25 years in that case, and you've got to be, if you're in the private sector, you've got to make those payments cumulatively, not consecutively, right? But the different income-driven repayment plans out there, the most popular one that came out during the Biden administration is the SAVE plan, Saving on a Valuable Education. But there's other ones as well, like income-based repayment and pay-as-you-earn, and even income contingent repayment for Parent Plus borrowers that you can use to get forgiveness on your student loans. Now, that's the broad type of forgiveness that almost anybody can qualify for if you have federal student loans. The second category, let's call it, is something that ideally wouldn't happen to you, but it is something that you can get forgiveness for. So there's categories of types of forgiveness where if something bad happened, then you can either apply to have forgiveness, or in some cases it might happen automatically. So some of these examples of types of forgiveness for this are things like death, disability, borrower defense to repayment, closed school discharge, right? So if something really terrible has happened to you, or, in the event of obviously death where the borrower was not around, something that happened to your family member, then you would want to call the servicer and ask, what are your options, right? If some sort of terrible disability has happened, once you probably first need to contact the Social Security Administration, try to get, legally declared under that category as disabled, right? But you can, for no cost at all, call your student loan servicer and ask, what are my options, right? And they're legally obligated to tell you. Now, the hold times might be bad. You might come across somebody that's not super competent at their job. Don't be shocked if that occurs. But in general, you're supposed to be able to call and get information on these programs. So, just know that death disability discharge is tax-free if that happens. Things like borrower defense to repayment, that's something that if you feel like, you were sort of misled by your school, or you got low value out of your program, you can apply through that process to have your loans discharged. Some other, types of forgiveness, closed school discharge, might happen automatically, depending on what kind of program that you went to. Now, you can get other types of forgiveness as well. So another example of a broad type of forgiveness that's only available to public sector employees is public service loan forgiveness. Now, since Nelnet does not manage that program for PSLF, if you fill out a application for PSLF, it's likely that your loans will be transferred somewhere else. Generally speaking, they get transferred to MOHELA. Studentaid.gov is supposed to be taking over that process. So, just know that that's something that would happen. If you apply for PSLF, don't be shocked to find that your student loan account is not managed by Nelnet anymore. That's not a problem. It's not a bad thing. But just know that, sometimes getting forgiveness, through different programs involves your account no longer being at Nelnet. Now, there's other ways to get forgiveness as well. One kind of lesser sort of one in terms of order of popularity is teacher forgiveness. So there are types of programs like that you can get a certain amount. Maybe it's $5,000, maybe it's more than that, that you can actually reach out for. If you happen to be a teacher, you can call your servicer, ask about the details. So that's another example of a type of forgiveness that you can get while at Nelnet. And there's another kind of forgiveness that's a little known. It's small balance forgiveness. So this is a new type of forgiveness that was initiated by the Biden administration. You have to be enrolled in the SAVE plan, the income-driven plan called SAVE. And to get this, you essentially pay, for a certain amount of time, depending on if you have a low balance that's shorter than 20 years. So specifically, if you have less than $12,000 of student loans, you pay for 10 years on the SAVE plan. If you have every $1,000 above $12,000, it adds on a year to your forgiveness. So if you have $13,000, it's 11 years, $14,000, it's 12 years, etc. So there are, a huge number of borrowers out there that have a relatively small amount of loans to forgive. And, so that's a way that you can get forgiveness too at Nelnet, even on a small amount of loans. And you might be surprised at how many people could pay $0 a month on the SAVE plan, especially if you have children. You might need to make sure the right person's claiming them on your tax return. But a family size of 3, or even like a family size of 4, where one spouse has the loans, one spouse doesn't, and there's 2 kids, if you make sure that those 2 kids are claimed by the borrower in your tax return, and maybe you file your taxes separately, well, you could make, in the 50 or 60K range of income and still have a $0 payment. And then, even if you were making more than that, you'd only be paying 5%, if it's undergrad loans, on the amount above 50 or 60K if you've got a family size of 3 that you're claiming for your IDR payment. So I think people underestimate drastically how many avenues and opportunities there are to get Nelnet student loan forgiveness. There's really lots of different strategies available. If you want to ask any questions about any of the strategies in this video, put them in the comments. Reach out to us at Student Loan Planner, and then just check out and follow Student Loan Planner and get more content like this, which hopefully will save you a lot of money. I think it certainly will if you're a student loan borrower just trying to figure out your best options for getting out of your student loans for as cheaply and quickly as possible.